Yay Media Group.
Welcome. It's been a minute. It's a brand new episode of the Fitish podcast. We've had a lot of activity, a little summer vacation,
Yeah,
but we didn't go anywhere.
we're a staycation.
Remy's in camp. I think, is anyone else this way? Like you have grand plans of getting around to planning a vacation and then it comes down to it and you're like, well, maybe like next week I'll plan it. Maybe next week. And then you get really busy with work and it's expensive and you're like, well, maybe we should just stay. Summer is
Yeah.
quite short.
Oh, yeah, and I feel like we live in a constant vacation, you know?
I do too. I don't feel the desire or the urge that I used to feel when I lived in Dallas. And it's nothing against Dallas. It's probably just the nature of when you live somewhere for a really long time, right? Like you frequently after traveling you're happy to be back and then you're like, wait, I want to go somewhere again. But since we've done all this moving in the last year, I it still feels so fresh and new that I haven't had that urge to travel. Also traveling with a toddler is a lot because it's not a full vacation. It's quite fun, but yeah. So I guess we've been happy. I don't know. Do we want to go somewhere? We
At some
haven't.
point. Next week we'll figure it out.
So Remy's in a cute little camp we found, and just for the day, which I have to be honest, like it's been really nice because as short as summer is, only 2 months. I bet for so many parents, summer's like, oh shit. Like 2 months could feel like an eternity if you have a whole litter of kids and nothing for them to do, and you still need to work. Like, as an adult, your schedule doesn't change. So I know summer can be pretty tiring if you have to work and watch your
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
I think it's just so amazing how Remy loves that structure of camp, school. Like he thrives in that type of setting.
Yeah.
Like that kid could not be more excited to go to school.
I'm happy. That makes me so happy. I know we spent the last couple weeks just chilling, like, or just having him at home and kind of toggling. You've really, like, Fran's been such like a super dad these last few weeks because I've had a lot going on with work, and it's so nice. I feel like when you have a partner, I mean, as much as you and I definitely go through phases where we don't get along and we're like probably, wanting to strangle each other or really
Yeah.
frustrated. Strangle, that would be your technique.
No, 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 no. I think that's well, maybe all depends. All depends the feeling, the emotion. Because strangle is too personal, but sometimes it takes personality. It takes that personal effort.
Well, on that note, no, but as much as we, go through these patches where, I mean, I'm sure some of you are the same way, where relationships are such a journey. Fran's always been really great for the most part at like knowing and seeing when I feel stressed about work or have a lot going on and being like, I'm going to take Remy. And so you did that last Saturday, actually, because I go, can I just sit and work? Like I worked for 7 hours straight. I didn't leave the dining room table. It went from like day to night, something that I'll talk about in a bit later on here, something really exciting and daunting, and I don't know, there's a lot of emotion behind it, but anyway, you've been like really supportive with that because I think you see the vision and then kind of saying, hey, I'm going to take Remy. But all this time with you and Remy has led Remy to some new vocabulary, hasn't it?
Yeah. So first, there's nothing I love more than hanging out with that kid.
Yeah.
He's so rewarding to hang out with. Um, but he has been picking up some Papa vocabulary.
And let's start with a couple of the other ones before we build to this one, because this one's the funniest. But I have taught Remy that we don't say certain words, and Remy's verbally pretty smart. I mean, I don't know. He's our only kid, so I don't know how to compare it. But I know his teacher said, his Spanish, his English, and recently he ran up to me. This was when you were running your race, your half marathon. He ran up to me and said, "Mama." I mean, is that a boba tea? Like, could you get a bigger, noisier,
It's a
giant
nice coffee
straw?
in a
Is it
boba tea kind of
a bo-
situation. With a boba tea type of
Sorry, if you watch on
straw.
YouTube, if you're just listening, you're like, what the fuck is that? Straw. No. Our coffee moment this morning. Anyway, Remy ran up to me and said, "Mama, Mama." Grandma Lula said a bad word. And I was with both grandmas. We were waiting on Fran to finish his half marathon, and he said, Grandma Lula said fat! Grandma Lula said fat! And he's screaming it. They were calling a dog fat, my mom, which, what bullies these grandmas are. They were making fun of another dog because the dog was overweight. And so, but I have taught Remy, because I am that mom that I am just horrified when you have a verbally like advanced child that doesn't emotionally always know what everything means, right? My fear is that Remy, because Fran and I speak like adults around him. My fear has always been that we would be in a store and he'd be like, Mama, look at that person, they're really fat, and so, oh my God, I would just be, hopefully here, maybe, well, they would understand, but I was like, I would just be horrified. Like, I want him to know what these words mean and that we don't use them. So we're trying to work on like a safe space at home. I told him he can say anything he wants, to mama and papa about the world and about what's going on and about things he's learned, but that outside of the house that there's a lot of words that we don't say. I don't know. I haven't read a manual on this. I don't know. And stupid, he knows stupid is not a nice word either. And so anytime he hears someone say fat or stupid, my mom said stupid about something the other day. It's so stupid. She was just frustrated. He's like, he's such a tattletale. He tells me, and then it got brought to a new level a couple of days ago with some new words that I didn't hear this, but our babysitter told me.
I also heard it, but he's so smart. Like, I have a very
I think he might be like normal.
flowerful vocabulary. So,
Flowerful,
yeah,
which isn't even really a word, but
exactly.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
part of my flowerful vocabulary.
Yeah, you have an abundant
Yeah.
vocabulary in
So,
Spanish, right? Mucho
in
slang.
Spanish and in English. So, when I get frustrated from time to time, I throw the occasional puta madre. And that is not a nice word, nor nice thing to say to anybody, but in a just like a something happens and you say puta madre, you're not directing that to anybody. You're just saying it.
And for our non-Spanish speaking audience, translate that pretty directly. You can say it. What does it mean?
Like puta, it's like everything. Like puta could be a prostitute, puta could be a like they use it for derogatory ways to call people that are attracted to the same sex. So it can be mean anything. So in that concept, you know what puta means, and madre means mother. So it's pretty hefty, it is a combo that you use when you're frustrated, but you
Is
don't
it not
direct
kind
it.
of in that regard? Aren't you saying motherfucker?
Like motherfucker, yes.
Well, okay, yeah.
Yes, but it's not like you said in the most literally way. Like motherfucker and puta madre are pretty cousins, but they're not exactly the same thing. In this scenario, we're gonna make it seem that it is. And he has heard me say it for sure, because I haven't dominate the filter not to say these things in front of him, which I'm working really hard on.
Which has been a thing with Fran and I for a while, which I gave up on because now Remy's in an age where it's like we can tell him it's bad, but yeah, you would constantly drop the F-bomb and I'd be like, rein it in, like, come on. And you're like, I can't help it. I was like, oh my gosh. So
The other day, Wheezy just peed on his bedroom carpet. And he looked at Wheezy. I wasn't in the room, but I was in an adjacent room. And I heard him say, puta madre, Wheezy. And I was like, I feel so proud. And yet a little sad, because he did, like, I felt proud of his timing, like he used it. It was good timing, good connotation, good context, bad word.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows where to use it. The issue is that he should not use it. So I had a little conversation with him. It's like, hey, I told Majo, our nanny, not to make a big deal. And I called him like, hey, Remy.
Our poor babysitter, she's like,
that is not something that we should be saying. And I know I say it. And I told Remy, like, it's just a matter of knowing when to use these words. And we're going to teach you that later on. But right now, we're just going to rein it in. Yeah, so he listens, and he knows, and he might say it 3 more times just to create some attention. And we had the conversation. It seems that it resonated, and we agreed not to use that word anymore.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel proud about that, but I mean, it's funny, but I guess it's like it's funny when it's other kids you see online swearing, right? But then when it's your own kid, I would just hate to be in a scenario here in Mexico where he says that in the grocery store when I drop something, and then I'm like, wow, I look like this like hood rat American mom whose child's like swearing up a storm in Spanish.
You know, um, I'm man proud in the fact that he's not like there's a bunch of kids that will just say a bad word in any setting just because they create that attention upon themselves. But this kid, it's so smart that he used it like he uses bad words in the right context, which it's not amazing and we're not promoting it, but he knows how to use them.
We went through, it was interesting. People used to ask me, I was on the radio for so many years, and that was always a very top question friends and family would ask me is like, so early, you're tired, you're talking live with like, 1 second delay for 4 or 5 hours every day. How do you not accidentally swear? And it's the strangest thing because you're in that different mindset, you're in that mentality, and you filter it quickly,
And it's a
like
job.
you want to, right? So is being a parent.
No, being a parent is a joy.
It's a job. It's a huge job and responsibility. But no, I just think, yeah, I try to make effort to not. I'm sure I've sworn at some point over time if something really spooked me
He
or it
didn't get
really
it
caught me
stupid out
off
of me.
guard. Huh?
I said he didn't get the word stupid out of me. So he learned that from another parent.
I mean, it could have been grandma, it could have been a
Yeah.
TV show, a movie. I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I've always tried to be more careful with my vocabulary around him in general. Something else I consider, though, because I used to talk to a lot of my, mom friends that have daughters. And something else you have to consider much more with daughters is kind of how you speak about yourself. Like that's something I focus on too, because I think it's so easy for us. We're so hard on ourselves as adults, like physically in our hair. And one of my great mom friends here has very wild curly hair, and her daughter made a comment about, why do you straighten your hair every day? And since then, she's been like letting it, like, out like a lion every day, and it looks beautiful. But she goes, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
because the daughter also has
Yeah.
like this thick curly
She
hair.
goes, oh my gosh, it caught me so off guard. And I realized I need to be like embracing how I look. And I know that's like a deeper level of all of this, but I think it's true. I do consider the psychology of that a lot because it was so different. I have no memory ever. Granted, my mom didn't struggle with her weight when I was younger, but I don't ever remember my mom saying anything to me about, body image, her own body image, makeup, like anything like that, right? It was never, and I think now we live in this world, right, where there is so much more pressure and also so many more options out there to look and feel our best. And so I think that it has to be kind of a scary world, especially with a daughter, because there's so much pressure on young girls to, look a certain way and weigh a certain amount and all of those things. So even with a boy, I think about that. I try not to make comments about, how I feel about how I look. Like it's so easy, right? Before we had kids to be like, look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh my God, I look like shit today. But I try so hard to not do it. And in a way it's helped me too. So then I don't look at myself in a mirror and try and like think those things, I move on
Do
from
you
that.
think those things?
Absolutely some days,
Well,
right?
yeah, like
I
I
wouldn't
think
go as far as say I look at myself and I look like shit, but I think there's that level of aging, right? That how do we find a way to, I want to be equal parts like embracing elements of my age, not totally fighting it, not totally, not trying to look 25, but I want to feel great and I want to feel youthful and I want to feel
well,
younger.
I've been with you for over 6 years, and I haven't seen one day that you look like shit. But how do you embrace? What do you mean by embracing getting older? What is exactly the part that you embrace of getting older?
I think this is an ever-changing document. of embrace. Right. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I never thought much about any of it until I don't think it was just postpartum and having a baby. I think it was that combined with my actual age being 41 and now, and having a baby at 39. And I think the reality is I've always been very, just from a genetic standpoint, I feel that there's certain things, right, that you just get genetically or you don't. And so there were certain things about me that I felt I didn't have to think twice about, right? Like I didn't get stretch marks when I got pregnant, or some of these things that you just can't control, right? And something happened after I had a baby where I just felt like shit. And I don't know if that's normal. And I know it is postpartum, right? And I don't mean that I was dealing with postpartum depression, but just physically, it was almost like the hormones from all that IVF and having a baby. And I thought, oh, yeah, I'll feel better in 3 months. I'll feel better in 6 months, in a year. And then, here I was 15 months postpartum, and the weight, that some of that hormonal weight wasn't coming off. And I just, my energy level was at an all-time low, just all of those things, just internally, right? Which I ended up going to a functional medicine doctor in Dallas. I mean, he's actually a cardiovascular doctor, and it was a clinic that had been opened by a woman that I knew. And she was like, come get some blood work done. We're doing all this cool new stuff. And this was, 2 years ago now. And I thought, okay. When you're hearing about some of the weight loss supplements and some of the things celebrities were taking, because I didn't know about any of this at the time, and it's all really fascinating. But, all those, when all the celebrities were losing all this weight and people are like, what are they doing? Um, and so I went and I found out what they were doing, and it was, taking Mounjaro or tirzepatide or a GLP-1, which people normally were just taking for, obesity, diabetes, this sort of thing. And so, but anyway, I got a full blood panel done, and it was so enlightening because I felt like, wow, this whole world seems a little intimidating, right? Like a lot of these medicines you inject, and a lot of these things could mess with your hormones. But then I realized, well, I don't feel great, right? And I think sometimes it takes you not feeling great to get to a point where, I don't want to say you'd try anything, but you start to get very curious about what else is out there. And I think my rose-colored glasses came off a bit with my postpartum experience, right? With kind of what we went through. And also when you go to the doctor after having a baby and I didn't get a blood panel done. I didn't get anything. I mean, I'm 40 and I'm going to the gyno, and it's like, okay, you look good down there. Bye. And I'm like, that's it? Like, and then that's just it until like you want to go back a year later. And I feel that no, something's not right here. So anyway, I think it's just so important, like we kind of advocate for ourselves. People say that a lot these days too, right? Not just with like women postpartum or perimenopausal and how you're feeling, but if you have like a bump in a weird place, we don't go to the doctor that much. Like if you don't really look into that, right? You kind of have to advocate for yourself.
That's where I draw the line.
What, a bump in a
A
weird
bump
place?
in a weird place. Like, um, like famous last words, I feel very in tune with my body, But when I feel a bump, it's like, okay, I think this is the time
That's
where
what sends you
I
over the
need
edge.
to
Yeah,
go
like I
to
need someone to go look
check
at
it
this
out.
bump that I can't look at wherever
Yeah.
it is. No, that's good. But no, it is true, right? Like you could be feeling off. So anyway, I say all of that to say what's kind of led me to this new arm of Fitish that we're launching next week that we've been working really hard on, organically, was just kind of my experience, which, so y'all know, and y'all know me, I've never been this diehard supplement taker. Like I have supplement intentions with vitamins and I want to take them, but um when I've gone through weeks of taking them and then weeks of not, probably with my inconsistencies, I never felt what I wanted to feel, which was like I always expected supplementation that way to be like life changing. That I
Universal
would be like,
flying.
yeah, that I'd just be like, I feel 18 years old. I have all this energy, and I never felt that way. So I got introduced, I found out my testosterone was really low, which they can ascertain from a blood panel, amongst other things, right? So some supplements at the time were recommended, as well as microdosing compounded tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro. And so, so I got on that. And I mean, boy, first of all, that weight like fell off, which was great. It did make me very sick in the beginning. So I went, oh, wow. But obviously that's in my opinion, if you really want to lose weight and feel better, being sick, for a couple days or a week when you first start taking this was like a small price to
And by
pay.
being sick, you mean like you are nauseous. You're not like sick. Like you just get really nauseous.
I like to be very honest. The first dose of this medication I ever took, I think it was just too much for my body. I think I'm very sensitive to medicine. And no, it made me, yes, it made me I didn't throw up, but I had diarrhea. I felt very tired for a few days. Like I didn't really want to get out of bed or leave the house. And yeah, nauseous and kind of a bad taste in my mouth and some things that were kind of, they don't really prepare you for. And so that was kind of part of this is like, I like to be honest with people. Now, not everyone has that reaction. And I think there's probably a lot of you listening that have maybe explored some of these compounds and medications. But even beyond the GLP-1, there's peptides, sermorelin, and all of these other things you're reading about, which are really great supporting, especially people at our age with kind of that cell recovery and regeneration. And yes, a lot of these are injections. GLP-1s will have as a oral tablet as well. But, a lot of the other peptides are daily injections, which for me was no big deal after doing IVF because these shots aren't bad. And I went, okay, I don't know. This is a lot, right? And so I went to lunch with some girlfriends and they go, Jenna, we're all doing it. I was like, oh, okay, we're all taking these. We feel amazing. And these are some of my friends that look absolutely great. And I go, wow, okay. I didn't realize kind of how much more commonplace some of this has become. And I kind of over time realized though that all of my friends were, where are you getting it? Where are you going? There's med spas here and the doctor I got it from in Dallas and actually going to the doctor and getting it or what or online, right? Different places online where people are kind of skeptical. And so I realized that everyone was paying such a vastly different price of all of these things. And so, in the last few months I started saying, I've been loving this stuff and I gotta figure out if there's a way to kind of offer this to the Fitish audience because I feel that not just skincare, like wellness in general is moving in this very like comprehensive direction where how cool, by the way, that like we can order medicine online. I think it sounds scary at first, but then you realize like doctors and insurance companies sometimes, you're just going and you're paying these extra fees, right? But it's like if you can see a doctor virtually, which I think we've gotten more comfortable with for smaller issues that we have, that how convenient and, not leave your house when you're really busy, get seen by a doctor, get prescribed something that's a good fit for your lifestyle. So, yeah, so that's what we are embarking upon with Fitish next week. Well, I'm telling y'all first, but our little audience here, but I'm really excited about that. So yeah, I'll fill you more in next week. It's not available yet. We've been working a lot on the back end of this, but we are launching the Fitish RX telehealth platform side of Fitish. So we'll still have everything you love, but my hope is to grow this business. For me, it's never been linear. Like wellness has never been a linear thing, right? It's never been, oh, just do some skincare at night and you feel amazing, which it's true, but my stuff was always more about that anti-inflammatory benefit and also the fitness and the nutrition and all of those things, but not being incredibly hardcore about it. Like, I don't know. I'm never going to be the type of person that is weighing my food. Like I can't go there. It's inconvenient. I'm not passionate about it. I think it's so great. It works. If you can be strict with your nutrition, it absolutely works. But I think for a lot of us that crave more attainable, realistic kind of balance and enjoying life, that I think that there are some hybrid solutions out there to, some of these medicines that actually help you anti-age and feel better, as well as allowing you to create better habits, right? Because you don't have much experience. I don't remember if you ever took. Did you ever take any of the GLP-1s?
Yeah, I took it once. I took it a week before we went to Cabo last time, and it was good. I think I didn't have the full experience, like I just,
Yeah, you can't just take one
yeah,
dose. One dose, but anyway, I'm excited about these medicines because I think this is the future of health and wellness in general is, more advanced but also more attainable. And I'm also trying to price them at a point that seems more affordable because man, people were spending, $800, $1,000 or, $300, $400, whatever it is. It was all across the board. So we're trying to price it, as affordably as possible that we can,
yeah,
that we
just to
can get it for.
approach more people, like $1,000 a rent.
It is ridiculous. And I know that people out there pay it, right? Because you get to a point that you'll do anything and you'll spend any amount of money. I've done a lot of research on this, and it's quite shocking how much people will spend to lose weight and feel better. That a lot of consumers will actually, I was reading that they will, especially as women, because the desire to lose weight is so strong, which it makes sense. Not just, and who cares? If it is a vanity thing, that's fine. You do feel better. But also, that's the thing for me is like there should be no shame in this. If you want to lose 10 pounds, you are going to feel better. It does alleviate inflammation and your clothes fit better and it leads to a lot of great things. I actually think it's like when you work out really hard and you start to see results, you're even more motivated to stick with your plan because you're seeing the results. And this is such a great Kickstarter to seeing results. Um, and seeing some of your muscle because you're having a little less body fat and all of these things. So but so many women I think carry a lot of shame with it, but the data shows that women in general will actually budget for things like this way more than, buying themselves like,
Whoa.
new clothes or experiences or anything, right? Makeup, even more than wanting to buy skincare sometimes because the desire to feel better and look better, and lose some weight sometimes is so strong. So I just wanted to be able to offer that. So many of our Fitish customers live in, smaller towns and have mentioned to me they have to drive an hour to see their doctor to acquire these types of medicines. And so we'll be able to ship everything straight from the pharmacy to your house.
That's so cool, but that's what they say, no? Like nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I don't agree with that. That's a pretty severe expression, and I think I mean, sure,
I
a
do
lot of
agree
people
with
find that
that.
it's true. Skinny, yeah, but for me, it was never about skinny, and that's not really the messaging I'm trying to put out there. Like,
No, but you know what? Like it is. You were telling me long time ago that there's studies that women are getting more pregnant because they're taking this medicine, and I jumped in right away and say yes because they're having more sex. It's like maybe the drug has some variation or will have some help for uh, reproductive organs or whatever, but it's a fact that when you look good, you feel good, and you feel sexy, and you want to have sex, and the husband gets to see his wife on like 10 years ago weight, and he's like, oh my god, you're actually super duper sexy.
I think that's the mental side of it. There is science behind this that shows, a lot of times women, when you are a little overweight, that's
A detriment.
inhibiting, not just because you want to have more sex when you feel better, sure, but actually a lot of times women that are struggling with infertility get put on a nutritional and weight loss plan because yes, if you are more overweight, it can be more difficult to conceive. The science, like the science of that is
Yeah.
true. So there's a lot of truth to that. But, this is what I want to just add, and we'll talk about this more over the weeks for those of you that are interested. We're going to have a lot of education on this. This is a huge new step and direction for the business that I think is organic. I think it's exciting. I think that it's a space I'm really interested in and I really want to be in, and it's a space that I can speak to. But I think that what I have found, and I do not take the GLP-1 weekly. I will kind of I've microdosed it. Of course, when I was running a half marathon, I didn't take it. I'm not, I don't take it just in a way of, oh, I want to lose, I need to lose weight, right? That's what it was at first. And then over time, what I found is that I felt so much better even though I was eating half as much. I think that that's what a lot of women and I have shared with each other who have experience with this. And a lot of you have written me and said the same thing in different ways. Everyone's had a different experience, right? Some of you have told me, your pre-diabetes symptoms went away, or that you just feel amazing, right? Your joint pain, that you were dealing with some arthritis and anything that's really inflammatory, right? So, these medications have been around, especially the GLP-1s, for a very long time. So they are safe, and some FDA approved by brand name. The compounded ones are, the same, just, more affordable because you're not taking the brand name medication. However, a lot of women, and myself included, feel that this lack of inflammation you experience in your body, and when we're not consuming as much food, because you don't want sugar. You really, like, I'll drink half a cup of coffee and abandon it, well, because I trash up my coffee, but you just don't have any kind of noise about food, right? So you don't overeat. You also learn, wow, as humans and like Americans or whatever, right? As people, we definitely overeat. All of us do. It's just the nature of the food, I think, and the serotonin and the dopamine, like everything that, we're eating and the sugar and all of that. So the nature of kind of less sugar intake and just less food that your body has to process, you actually feel fucking great. And I was shocked because I thought, wow, if I don't eat, I'm going to feel terrible. But when you find that right dose and you're still eating enough to satiate yourself and to fuel yourself and
And I
you're
think
making
that
better
is a key
choices,
factor.
yes, you have to balance this,
You
right?
have to know, and you have to have a good diet. That little that you intake has to be very meaningful.
It is, it is. But also, if you mess up a little bit and have like a bite of dessert, you really don't want it. So I could go on and on about the moments that have just been really great with it. But and there's just again, it's not just GLP-1s that we'll be offering. It's, there's other great peptides. These are all peptides, right? Peptides are actually something that our body already produces, but of course, as we get older, we don't have as many. They're not, we're not processing and functioning as highly as we were when we were, 18 to 25 years old. So there are other peptides out there whose main goal is not, to lose weight, appetite suppressant, that doesn't affect the digestion system as much. But like sermorelin's a great example because, these other peptides that are on the market, they help with your recovery, tissue repair, all of these other things so much that women and men are taking these a lot when they are more active because they're noticing more of that muscle definition, kind of the less body fat and leaner in that way, even though some of them weren't meant for strictly weight loss, right? But they're seeing their body kind of maybe how your body was when you were, 18 and feeling that way too,
Yeah.
recovering from working out or whatever it may be, right? If you're hungover, but um, I don't know. The whole science of all of it's really fascinating to me. I would never have felt comfortable getting into it a couple years ago, even though a lot of other people were. You kind of have to measure the risk, especially as a business owner. Like I can try things, but do I want to sell them, to an audience that trusts me? But now that I've had enough experience with some of these medications, NAD is a great example too. Like NAD is just that's a different compound completely, but NAD is something that a lot of people have been using for many years. And I don't know. So we're going to have a lot of education for you on all of these medications. And hopefully you kind of can explore that. Our hope is to have this ready to go at the end of next week or the following. I know I've been teasing it a bit, but I'm excited. It's scary. It's scary and I mean, I can say this like to our podcast audience that I'm not gonna make like a post on Fitish and be like, this is cool and scary. I think it's scary when you embark upon it. I almost feel like I'm adding such a huge new element to the brand and to the business that I find so exciting and so useful and so helpful in terms of our overall wellness. And I feel that it's safe and I feel good about it or I wouldn't do it. But it is a scary thing, right? And it's exciting for like my team because it's a lot of education, right? It's a lot for everyone to learn. And where do we toe the line between, you understand I can't give medical advice, right? Because we have a platform so we'll have practitioners and patient care coordinators that you can message with, right? When you have more medical leaning questions. So, from a customer service perspective and how we're going to work through all of it, because of course I like to be very transparent and say like, this is what I do. This is what I take and all of these things, but this is medicine, this is prescription medicine. So it's a whole new level of wellness for the brand. But I think there's a lot of potential here. And it's just so exciting to me. The same, just transparently as it's been with the THC and CBD space. And I think the reason I feel more comfortable with it is because, when I started selling that, no, it was legal, right? And even THC is now, I mean, with Texas, who knows? But, like I believe in it. And it's just because pharmaceutical companies hadn't really gotten there and the public started, utilizing this plant for things. And it's such an interesting thing, isn't it? That the public has access to certain things that aren't just coming through the pipeline of a pharmaceutical company. And I think going through this business with CBD and THC has given me the confidence to know that there are great things out there, natural, holistic. There are great things out there that just aren't being sold to us in that pharmaceutical pipeline in that way. So people at first could be skeptical, but you realize sometimes it's like just a money game, right? Like it's just like a
It's hard not to be conspiracy theorist when it comes to
pharmaceutical companies.
pharmaceutical
Yeah.
companies and how they much rather
Have you
have us
sick?
sick,
Yeah.
because you see all the stuff that they ban. Like I'm not like I believe that things need to be regulated in the THC space,
Yeah.
but you have Cheetos that are flaming hot that has a dye that could cause cancer, and that is not regulated. You have, and I love flaming hot. Don't get me wrong. I
But
ate
you're
the
right, with food and certain
like
things, it's
you
just it's a
have
mess. It's a mess.
a soda that has a full cup of sugar, like, and that is just crazy. Like they
Well, and the rates of colon cancer with young people now, which they really believe is, I mean, they haven't even pinpointed it, right? But I've been reading studies that they think it's from these energy drinks and these other things that people are just consuming
yeah,
that are like, oh, yeah, they're fine, you know? And so, anyway, the point of all of that is because, you know, we could go on and on. And I don't like to be full conspiracy theorist, but I mean, yeah, I think if you look into it, I mean, there's great pharmaceutical companies. Granted, just so we are clear too, like Novo Nordisk, like some of these companies are providing these GLP-1s by brand name, right? So, but that's the thing, isn't it? That then compound pharmacies are also making the generic versions of them with the same formula, right? Because they're making all the medications. They just don't have the brand name.
correct.
So all of it's really interesting. It's I think we're living in an exciting time with this too, and maybe it's because of chat, it's AI. I mean, it's the chat GPTs of the world and the internet, and we're able now to do so much more research on the things we want to put into our bodies when we used to just be like lemmings that are like, oh, they say this is good for us. It's like all the reports on collagen, like taking collagen like orally does nothing, and but it was like sold to us for so long how great it is. And so I find it all really interesting. So again, the point of all of this conversation is that do your own research, right? I've always said that, like, do it. I mean, don't just Google and do the first article, but like, especially with chat, because a lot of it you can see the data and the kind of the case studies of it. But if you're interested in some of these medicines, we'll provide you with a lot of education, but also, no pressure. Do your own research and dabble in what you think, what you want to try, and research it yourself. And then I think you feel more empowered as a consumer and more, confident taking it. And we used to never question the labels as much as we all do now. And I think that's super important. Um, Try it out, see how you feel, and I'll let you know. So stay tuned. And I'm excited. I'll let y'all know like once we launch and how it's going and what the feedback is. And I really rely on a lot of you that have been such great customers for so long too, to kind of tell me what's working, what's not working, that sort of thing. Because some of these things, what's scary as a business owner is the fulfillment part of it. Coming from a pharmacy, it's like a little, not a little, it's out of my control, right? Like with right now, we're so good with our shipping that we're on it. Like a customer has an issue, I get the message, we can send something out that same day. But when you're opening up, and partnering with a telehealth service and compound pharmacies, I don't run the fulfillment at that pharmacy, right? And these things come, packaged on ice and like, a lot of them have to be kept cold at a refrigerator. So it's a whole new thing, which is very exciting and a lot of potential. But that's just the totally bare truth
Are
of
you
it.
gonna throw like a discount code for the Finnish listeners, like the first ones to send podcasts to your DMs, or like some little
Sure.
thing?
Yeah. We have to figure that out on the back end. Of course. Of course, I'll have an opportunity to give discounts here and there. We have to figure out what those discounts are. It's so different with Fitish, It like what what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
these medications are a bit more than my skincare products cost. So we have to figure out what a good, discount for people would
Well,
be.
you send podcasts to her DMs, and she'll figure out what to throw in your way. No.
You think maybe like these great business ideas you have could be run by me before we're recording a show? So
No.
I don't have anything set up yet. Okay, for discounts, but I'll provide that down the road. Thank you for the great idea, Fran.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Well, more on this later.
Very exciting stuff is happening here.
We actually will see you next week. So thanks for giving us a breather, and we'll chat next week.